Legacy is such a powerful thing. It's this moment every year that kind of brings me back and reminds me, and hopefully reminds all of us, that where we are today, we didn't get to by ourselves.
Right.
You know, what we have as individuals, what we have as a church, somebody, not just before us in the context of EC, but even in generations before us, has sacrificed so that we could be where we are today. And that's what's really cool about these moments, is then we gather as a church family. We have the opportunity to position ourselves to do the same thing, not just to have an impact in the immediate world around us, but to build something that's going to outlive us, to really have an impact for generations. I love the story of David and Solomon, and the scripture from 1 Chronicles chapter 22, where David says, "My son Solomon is young and inexperienced, and the house to be built for the Lord should be of great magnificence and fame and splendor in the sight of all the nations." That's our desire for this church, that it would be a house of great magnificence and fame and splendor for God's glory in the nations. Then David says, "Therefore I will make preparations for it," so David then made extensive preparations. And I think that's really legacy season. David's legacy, even though Solomon built the temple, David's legacy was the temple. And our legacy is not just the church we inhabit today, but it is the church of the future. And every legacy season, we are building to the foundation and building up the church that God is really developing for future generations.
Right. This is about living a life outside of ourselves, longevity, and investing into the next generation. We serve a generational God, and so we believe that we're building a generational church. We've always seen EC as a generational church, where the old and the young can come together and worship under one roof, but that also we see your family and speak to it and believe for great things in your lives. And we love celebrating births together and birthdays together, anniversaries and graduations. We can't wait to celebrate engagements and weddings and all that could come in your life. We also are excited to be celebrating the miracles and the healings and the salvations in your home. Legacy is about what God can do in this house, but it's also what he can do in your house.
Yeah. Well, and the verse we've chosen for legacy this year is Psalm chapter 27, verse 13. It says, "I remain confident in this, that I will see the goodness of the Lord in the land of the living." And I feel like it's an important verse for us. It's been an important verse for our family, but it's an important verse for our church, with so much going on in the world around us right now that looks like it's not good.
Right.
I believe God's calling us to be a faith-filled group of people who would say, no, for all that we see, we are confident that God is good and does good in the lives of his people. And the beautiful thing about the goodness of God is that the goodness of God is displayed through the generosity of his people. It's this partnership. How humbling is it that God chooses to display his glory throughout the earth, through people like us, through something simple like bringing a generous sacrificial offering. And so as we get ready for Legacy 2021, we do so with a spirit of great expectation that this year we're going to see the goodness of God locally, nationally, internationally, through EC's expansion in ways that we've never even dreamed possible, and that we're going to lay up something for future generations. And so let's take a look at some of what God has been stirring in the hearts of our church, in the hearts of our team for Legacy 2021.
Really, the heart of EC Local is to love our neighbors and to bring the kingdom of God to every single corner of our city. And we really can't do that alone. And one of our biggest and most strategic partners is the Calgary Housing Company. And Calgary Housing provides affordable housing to families and individuals right here in our city. And we've been able to, over the course of several years, support about 460 households in partnership with Calgary Housing. And we've seen that number grow each and every year, and we hope that the trend will continue into next year. And one of our biggest ways that we like to partner with Calgary Housing is through our annual Christmas wish list event. And each and every Christmas wish list is so special. The families get to come and choose a few Christmas gifts for their kids for free. And they also get to walk away with a grocery store gift card for their families. And this year, we are so excited to be able to expand Christmas wish list a little more by going multi-site for the first time ever, and Christmas wish list in more than one place. And we just really hope that this will expand the ministry to every corner of our city, make it more accessible for families to be a part of it. And this past July, we hosted one of the biggest Serve Weeks that we've ever had, and it was so incredible to come alongside these partners. And in Serve Week 2022, we plan to expand those partnerships and create new ones with other organizations in our cities that we have yet to connect with. And we really believe that this is just the tip of the iceberg, and this is the beginnings of a movement of love in Calgary. Another one of our strategic partnerships is with Brown Bagging for Calgary Kids that provides healthy lunches for kids who are in schools, and we have been completely blown away by the impact of this partnership.
The impact Brown Bagging makes is so much more than we can actually see. It goes beyond making lunches, packing up the sandwiches, and sending them off to schools. We have a team at EC who actually partnered with a ministry in Forest Lawn, and through that was able to meet a woman, and we're just going to call her Jan just to protect her. Jan was able to share her story with one of our team members. She is unfortunately addicted to meth and is using prostitution as her job right now. But she was able to share with us about her kids and how good her kids are doing in school right now, and that they're excited and happy to be there. One of the reasons being is they get to eat there. Jan does not have any money left over for food to feed her children, so through the Brown Bagging program, they're able to eat. So through more conversation, Jan was able to connect us with her kids' school, and we are actually the ones who provide the lunches there. So Jan is really wanting to do better in her life and do better for her kids, but unfortunately we can't get into their homes, but doing this little part and feeding these children and being able to just fill these lunches and pray over them and just send God's love off in this kind of way is something we're really excited to be able to do.
Every act of kindness, every dollar spent, every hour given, God can and will use to expand His kingdom here in our city. And as we invest locally, we will see dignity restored. We will see the lonely put in families. We will see the cycle of poverty break, and we will see the gospel move across our city. And what we do here locally doesn't just stay here, but God will use to impact our entire nation.
My name is Chris, and this is my beautiful wife Katrina, and we just moved from Winnipeg, and we're planting a church in the Lower Mainland in BC. Jesus saved our lives. When I was 16, I was broken, I was depressed, I was angry, I was bitter, and I did not know Jesus. And I was living a life of addiction, and one night God spoke to me while I was partying, and He just said to me, He said, "My son, this is not who I've called you to be." And in that night, I heard His audible voice, and everything changed. And He reminded me that He has a plan and a purpose for our life, and a destiny that was so much more beautiful than we could ever imagine. And He actually spoke to my heart in that moment and just said, "I want you to plant a church one day." And He planted this seed that is now coming to fruition, and we're so excited.
The church we're planting is called Citadel Church, and a citadel is known as a strong fortress, a place on high ground that has command over a city. And that's really our dream for our church, is that it would be a place of protection and refuge that people can go to and find hope and strength, and that it would also be this beacon of light over our city and just command the kingdom wherever we go.
Thank you for believing with us that God's kingdom will expand on the West Coast. I think what gets me with planting churches, and I love that this is always a big part of our legacy offering, is that when we plant a church, we're not just starting another weekend service somewhere.
Right.
Like every church, every life-giving church in a community becomes a safe haven for kids and families. It's an opportunity for student ministries to grow and develop. It's a place for people who are hurting and broken to come in and find hope and healing and refuge. But even beyond that, it's another life-giving church like EC that's going to have local mission initiatives and national mission initiatives and think internationally about how they can change the world.
Right.
So it's this multiplied impact. So for everything that we do to help plant the church, once that church is going, man, what God does through that new church is just so beyond what we could ever really imagine. And so I love the multiplied impact. And really, we're not done yet.
Yeah.
I'm excited for what we're going to accomplish in the churches that are going to be launched in 2022 as a result of our legacy offering. But we're believing for a life-giving church in every city, town, hamlet, everywhere that there's people. We want everyone to have access to a church.
Across the whole country.
Across the whole country, from coast to coast. And so it's so exciting, because really what happens nationally then we hope spills over even beyond that into the nations. And we've had some cool opportunities there too.
I remember we were on the ground with one of our partners in the Middle East just last year. And so this is a country where for multiple decades now, they've been very restricted on sharing the gospel. But even in the past few years, they've been boldly choosing to plant churches, and through it, they're seeing God move miraculously, and people are getting saved across their nation. And so we were there with them, and one of their leaders started sharing his story with me of how he recently met Jesus. And it actually all happened in a dream. God one night gave him a dream, and in it, he showed him how the enemy had been lying to him, how he was following the wrong God, and he met Jesus in a dream and chose to follow him right then and there. But not just follow him, God actually in that same dream called him to boldly preach and evangelize to his own people. And you know what? I love that. I love that God does whatever it takes to reveal himself to people around the world. But not only that, I love that after that dream, there was a church nearby through our partners where this man could go and be discipled and be released into the gifting that God had called him into in that dream. And there is a key part that I actually didn't tell you at the beginning. This guy's 15 years old. He's 15, and now he is boldly risking his life preaching to his people, and people are responding and getting saved and giving their lives to Jesus because of it. God is continuing to use our unity and our generosity to advance his kingdom. And we're already seeing that with one of our partners in Zimbabwe. We've already partnered with them to help them begin church planting in their area of Zimbabwe. But now God is starting to give them really incredible visions for how to reach their community in unique ways and meet the needs of their own people. And so in the past year, we've actually seen throughout Zimbabwe, there's become an epidemic of crystal meth addiction through the youth and young adult demographic there. And during COVID, so many, even as young as 14, have turned to crystal meth. And so that's devastating and destructive to their bodies and their minds and their lives, of course, but God has put a vision in our partners to actually launch an addictions rehabilitation center right by their church there. And in their church, they've already seen youth and young adults come and meet Jesus and be completely set free. And so now the vision is to buy land, build this center, and start to multiply this outreach opportunity so that more of their people can experience the freedom of Jesus. And so we are very excited to come alongside them in new ways this year and allow for their vision to become a reality. God has put it on our hearts to focus really intentionally on the 1040 window. So that's an area of the world that's considered the most resistant to the gospel. It includes Northern Africa, the Middle East, and India. And in that region, there's over 5 billion people, and it's considered to be the least reached of anywhere in the world. And we believe that God has invited us to participate in what he's wanting to do there through strategic partners. And that even in the midst of volatility, as we continue to invest in ways that we can into what he's doing in that region, that in volatility, our partners will still be able to see miraculous progress.
Lighthouse Voyage exists to champion the full potential of exploited individuals. And in India, we just finished our big project called Molly's Home, and it's a girls' home, and we have about 70 girls currently occupying it. And we're just so excited about what God is doing in there. And at the same time, we're thinking about the future and dreaming big. And so our next project that we're truly pumped about is creating a new boys' home. We have 50 boys currently, and we just need a bigger space to bring in more individuals that need to find help and recovery. These are individuals that have been exploited and abused, and we're just excited to help them find their dignity and bring transformational change in their lives. And we're just excited for EC partnering with us again and jumping along in making dreams become reality.
We have multiple projects across the Middle East that are moving forward right now. With one of our partners, we are helping them to buy property and build and develop a training center for leaders and pastors across their whole volatile region. And with what God's doing over there right now, so many people are being saved and discipled and sent out very quickly. So this is going to be a safe space for their leaders to come and be further encouraged and equipped for the ministries God has called them into. With another partner, we've already smuggled in over 1,800 Bibles into restricted nations in that area. And now, as dynamics are shifting, we're going to be shifting with them. So we are going to begin actively helping Christian families in Afghanistan in 3 different ways. We're going to be helping especially the really high-risk families to be able to actually escape the country. But then also there's people who have felt called to stay despite everything that's going on. And so we are going to be working with our partner World Compassion to help those people be as safe and resourced as possible so that they can continue to be a light to their own people. Then also, as families do leave, we're going to be helping them with wherever they end up as refugees to be able to get back on their feet and move forward with their lives. And as we look at all of this, it's so obvious that God has positioned us as a church to be able to actively participate in what He's doing around the world. And as we continue to invest, we will see hundreds of pastors and leaders equipped and churches planted across Zimbabwe and the Middle East. We will see the underground church encouraged and running forward in boldness. We will see millions of people from every nation put their faith in Jesus.
Starting in January of 2022, we're launching something brand new. It's the same name that we've used before, but it's a new program, and it's called Leader Lab. Leader Lab is a 12-week immersive experience to help people, equip them, and empower them to be incredible ministry leaders. This 12-week immersive experience is going to be phenomenal. It is going to allow us to have an army of leaders to expand the mission into all places and spaces that we're going to go. As we develop leaders, it's vital in allowing us to reach more people for Jesus. We need to expand not just in leadership, but also in locations. And so that's what I'm excited about, because currently we've been actively looking and engaged in conversations for more space, whether it's a temporary space or a permanent venue right within Calgary. We're so close to being able to find some spaces that are going to act and help us to be able to relaunch a campus in 2022. we're also looking on how we can use this miracle space that God's given us to its full potential. We want to continue to be able to dream about what this space can do for people around our city and in this community. And so we've already started conversations and have actively been working with our architect to draw up some plans on how we could expand this space. So there's a couple things that are really exciting about the expansion of this space. We've got drawings for a brand new 1,800 square foot foyer and coffee shop that's going to be open 7 days a week, allow for us to be able to service people in a different way, to build connections and community for everybody. We're so excited for that. Also, not just a foyer, on the south side of the building, a gymnasium. Yes, that's right. We are starting to run out of kids space already, but with a gymnasium, it would allow for us to have more space on a Sunday and also allow for us to do incredible opportunities for our community, like pickup games and other rental opportunities. This is so exciting that we can be able to not just look for space for campuses as we get ready to launch one, even in the next year. We also get to be able to maximize the space that God has already given us. With the advancement of our church online and our video production, we've been able to make Sunday content that has been viewed nearly in 300 cities in 31 countries across the world. Man, that is mind-blowing and actually just truly remarkable. See, the incredible reality is that we've seen such a huge surge of growth from smaller cities and rural settings within Canada. So much so that we feel called to establish life-giving extensions of EC in these communities. We're so excited to be coming along our EC family already living in these areas to launch in-person locations. See, EC Everywhere is our vehicle for building a wider network of churches across our nation. As we believe for expansion, we will see developed leaders in our church. We will see locations across our city, and we will see EC Everywhere being established throughout our nation.
You know, legacy, real legacy, is not about being successful.
Right.
We're not trying to build something successful. We're trying to build something significant. And true significance only comes when we humbly lay down what we have to offer and partner with what God is building and the way He's moving and expanding His kingdom in our world. That's really what this is about.
Absolutely.
It's significance.
We want to extend an invitation to you and invite you into participating, not just observing in Legacy season this year, but what does it look like for you to invest and get involved into Legacy 2021?
This isn't just EC's legacy, it's Jonathan's legacy, it's Natasha's legacy, and we want it to be yours too.